Butter seems harmless, creamy, golden, perfect for toast or baking. But for seniors, hidden dangers lurk in the spread. From contaminated batches to misleading natural labels hiding trans fats and preservatives, some butters can spike blood pressure or trigger heart complications. Today, we're revealing 9 butter brands to avoid at all costs, and 2 that are actually safe for your health. Starting off with number 9, we've got Land O'Lakes, the butter stick that has been in American kitchens for generations, sold on the promise of simple, farm-style goodness. The packaging shows a pastoral scene. The trust you put in that box is part of the brand's appeal. The problem is history. Land O'Lakes has been linked to multiple recalls over the years, including a large recall of stick butter for metal fragments that reached stores in many states. That kind of recall isn't a PR hiccup. It shows how a product can make it to shelves with physical contaminants that put consumers at risk. Older adults are more likely to take medications, to have slower digestion, and to be more vulnerable to infection or physical harm from contaminants. A metal fragment or an off-quality dairy shipment can lead to a cut in the mouth, an emergency dental visit, or, in rare cases, gastrointestinal problems that land someone in urgent care. That's not alarmism. It's about risk math. When a brand that looks reliable has a track record of recalls, you should treat it with caution if you're feeding someone with weaker health. Taste and texture don't warn you. You spread a pale square of butter on toast, and the first bite is smooth and familiar. The betrayal is invisible. Metal fragments don't change flavor. They're an unseen hazard inside an otherwise normal product. For seniors on blood thinners, even minor injuries inside the mouth or gut can become serious, and the stress of a sudden medical event matters. Practical step: check your groceries recall board or the brand's recall page before buying. If a product line has had recent action, choose another butter until the issue is resolved. Have you ever found something wrong in a stick of butter? A weird texture or foreign particle? Which brand and what did you do? The prettiest package can hide hardware, and hardware doesn't care about your prescription list. Land O'Lakes is a familiar label, but familiarity doesn't erase recall history. For seniors, that history is a reason to be cautious at the spread station. Make sure you stay with me, because after we cover all the risky brands, I'll show you the 2 butters that are actually safe to keep in your fridge. Coming in at number 8, we've got I Can't Believe It's Not Butter, a best-selling spread that promises the experience of butter with fewer calories and 0 cholesterol. It sells relief to people who want buttery flavor without the full fat load. That marketing works. The complication is history. Margarine and buttery spreads once relied on partially hydrogenated oils, PHOs, and trans fats to get shelf stability and spreadability. Because of clear links to heart disease, many consumers still associate margarine with trans fat risk. Keeps alarm bells ringing. Here's the brand-specific reality. The company behind I Can't Believe It's Not Butter now states it does not use partially hydrogenated oils in its products. That's a useful fact. Still, the perception persists, and some lines of spreads contain emulsifiers, stabilizers, people with multiple medications or cholesterol concerns may want to minimize. If a spread is ultra-processed, strict diet plans recommended for seniors. What to watch for: read labels. With unfamiliar enzymes or stabilizers. For seniors on heart meds or with delicate cholesterol control, shorter ingredient lists of natural butter or clearly labeled non-hydrogenated spreads are often safer. If the convenience of a tub matters, pick one with few additives and the lowest sodium. Practical swaps. Small amounts of real butter or olive oil-based spreads with transparent labeling. Did you stop trusting margarine because of the trans fat headlines years ago? Or did you switch to newer tubs when labels changed? The spread that promises lighter living can still carry a long ingredient list, and those ingredients matter more than the slogan. I can't believe it's not. Butter has changed since the trans fat era, but seniors should always read the label, not the marketing. Before we get to number 7, please hit subscribe right now. Every week we expose the foods that look safe but can secretly damage your health. Don't miss the truth that could protect your next meal. Arriving at number 7, we've got Kerrygold, premium Irish butter that sells on pasture-fed cows and old world style. It looks and tastes upscale, and many people choose it for flavor. Trouble surfaced, though, not in the churned cream but around packaging and trace contaminants. Consumers and advocacy groups raised questions about possible forever chemicals, PFAS, in foil wrappers, and a class action claim alleged the packaging carried synthetic compounds. That case and related reporting forced the brand to change packaging in some markets and pause normal distribution at certain times. Those are supply chain and safety signals that seniors should not ignore. Why packaging matters. Older adults and those with kidney or liver concerns can be more susceptible to the long-term accumulation of environmental chemicals. PFAS, nicknamed forever chemicals, don't break down easily and have been linked in some studies to higher cholesterol, immune effects, and certain cancers. The debate over Kerrygold centered on foil liners that some alleged contained PFAS. The company and courts moved through litigation and labeling changes, and some consumer suits were later dismissed or modified. But the episode shows how premium branding doesn't remove supply chain risk. Practical advice. If you prefer Kerrygold for taste, inspect the packaging and prefer batches sold in markets that have transparent testing or local quality scores. If you're on medications affected by cholesterol or have conditions sensitive to environmental contaminants, rotate your butter choices and favor sealed, tested domestic brands until supply chain concerns are fully settled. Many seniors choose smaller amounts of premium butter for flavor rather than daily use. Do you buy Kerrygold for taste or for its Irish origin? Have you noticed any packaging changes where you shop? Luxury foil doesn't guarantee purity, and an upscale sticker can't fix packaging chemistry. Kerrygold's premium image is real, but recent packaging and PFAS questions show why even premium spreads need scrutiny, especially for older consumers. Transitioning to number 6, we've got Country Crock, a long-time margarine and spread brand that now sells plant-based butter alternatives. The visual pitch is comforting, tubs that promise heart-healthy swaps and easy spreading. The snag is regulatory and legal. Dairy groups and trade bodies publicly challenged Country Crock's dairy-free butter labeling, arguing that calling a plant-based tub butter breaks federal naming rules. Industry letters asking the FDA to act and class action complaints about misleading olive oil claims have pushed the brand into the headlines. Those disputes aren't just corporate theater. They reflect confusion about what's inside the tub and whether the label reflects the product's composition. Why that matters for seniors. If a product's label isn't a clear match for its ingredients, people on restricted diets can unknowingly consume oils, emulsifiers, or sodium that interfere with medications or conditions. For example, someone switching from butter to a plant spread to lower saturated fat might find that the alternative includes other oils, hidden sodium, or misleading claims about olive oil content. In a recent class action, plaintiffs said Country Crock's with olive oil marketing overstated the amount or type of olive oil used. Regulators and courts are watching those claims closely. Practical steps. Read the ingredients and nutrition panel, not the marketing claim. If you need true dairy-free swaps for allergy reasons, confirm the label lists ingredients you recognize. If you're managing sodium, pick spreads with the lowest sodium per serving and avoid tubs with long, unrecognizable ingredient lists. When in doubt, use a small amount of extra virgin olive oil on toast. You know what you're getting. Have you tried Country Crock plant butter and felt misled by the label? Which claim made you stop and read the fine print? A tub that promises olive oil can still hide palm and emulsifiers. Labels matter more than color. Country Crock's legal and labeling battles show why seniors should always read ingredient lists. Marketing won't protect your health. Coming in at number 5, we've got Challenge Butter, the cheap, widely available block that shows up in bargain carts and community pantries. The label promises reliable, old-fashioned butter. The reality some consumers report is a product that sometimes smells dull, tastes flat, or develops off notes that feel off for baking and spreading. That mismatch between promise and plate is the kind of betrayal to avoid when feeding someone with fragile health. Picture the scene. You slice a piece and it looks normal, pale gold, smooth texture. You spread it, then notice the aroma is faint or faintly unpleasant the next morning in the fridge. For many people, that's just annoying. For seniors on blood thinners, with weakened immune systems, or with sensitive digestion, subtle spoilage or rancidity is more than an upset stomach. It can trigger nausea, a fall from dizziness, or a doctor visit. The risk isn't that Challenge Butter is dangerous every time. It's that low-cost manufacturing plus long storage and rapid distribution sometimes produces variability in quality, and those quality failures can be invisible until after eating. Consumer discussion threads and some retail reviews show occasional clusters of complaints about texture and smell. Those are anecdotal, but they matter for people who need stable, predictable foods. Why does this happen? Lower-priced butters often use wider sourcing and longer storage windows to keep costs down. That means cream may sit longer or be transported farther before churning. Microbial growth or fat oxidation, which causes rancidity, can creep in during those steps if refrigeration, rotation, or packaging lapses occur. In large-scale production, A single supplier issue can create a regional batch that tastes or smells off, and by the time complaints climb, many tubs have already been sold. For seniors who rely on routine, the same breakfast every day, that unpredictability is a real safety issue. Practical senior-focused guidance. If you buy challenge for cost, inspect each package. Open and sniff before serving to guests or someone older. Note best buy and prefer shorter dates. Store butter in the coldest part of your fridge and use within recommended days after opening. If you ever detect an odd odor, don't risk it. Return it or discard it. Small savings aren't worth a hospital trip. Have you ever opened a fresh stick and thought, "This smells weird"? Tell us the brand and what you did. Toss it, keep it, or complain? A pale stick can hide a stale lab, and stale fat can make sensitive stomachs revolt. Challenge is cheap and popular, but inconsistent quality reports mean it's a poor choice when you're feeding someone who can't afford a food-related emergency. If evidence of spoilage shows, swap the tub, fast. Landing at number 4, we've got Blue Bonnet, a familiar name in many grocery aisles, promising spreadable goodness and simple ingredients. The image sells comfort. The catch, labeling and ingredient transparency matter more than packaging art, and there have been regulatory and legal actions around products using similar names and claims that show why shoppers should read the fine print. What you see on the tub, made with real ingredient, or heart-healthy, can hide formulation choices that matter for seniors. Some spread products marketed under the Blue Bonnet name or similar brands have been the subject of consumer complaints and regulatory scrutiny in other product lines. For example, companies with similar trade names have faced Proposition 65 notices or enforcement actions in the past. Those actions don't automatically mean every Blue Bonnet margarine tub is unsafe. They do signal that brand names sometimes appear across different companies and product types, and that labeling claims about saturated fat or olive oil content have been contested in court or by consumer groups. That's a trust gap. The package promises a heart-friendly swap, but the ingredient list may tell a different story. For seniors managing cholesterol, heart meds, or sodium-sensitive conditions, the problem is concrete. Processed spreads often contain emulsifiers, hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated oils, historically, added salt, and flavor enhancers. If the label understates saturated fat or uses terminology that confuses consumers, natural flavors, blend, or butter-flavored, people can unintentionally eat more saturated fat or sodium than their doctor recommends. That has real effects. Higher LDL, harder to control blood pressure, and more strain on medications. If you see a dense ingredient list or a natural claim that isn't backed by simple components, that's a red flag for anyone over 50. Practical advice. Compare nutrition facts panels, not marketing. Pick spreads with short ingredient lists, no PHOS, partially hydrogenated oils, low sodium, and clear labeling. If you need a plant-based swap, look for tubs that list the oils plainly, e.g., olive oil, canola oil, and avoid mysterious flavor systems. When in doubt, use small amounts of real butter or a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil. You control the dose and the ingredients. Did a light tub ever surprise you with a long ingredient list? Which phrase made you stop and read the fine print? A heart-healthy claim on the front won't fix a long chemical ingredient block on the back. Blue Bonnet's friendly tub can hide confusing claims. For seniors, label clarity beats slogans every time. Read the panel. At number 3, we've got President, the French brand that carries an aura of imported luxury. It tastes rich and spreads smoothly. That's the promise. The counterpoint, several consumer safety notices and recalls in Europe have shown imported dairy products can carry contamination or foreign matter risks, and President has appeared in those recalls on specific batches. When a premium product fails testing, the betrayal stings because it undermines trust and quality at a premium price. Specifically, national recall notices in Europe, Repel Conso in France and others, have listed certain President butter lots recalled for foreign matter or other labeling quality problems. Imported dairy moves through international supply chains, and if storage or transport conditions fail, for example, a cold chain break or packing contamination, microbial or physical hazards can reach shelves before anyone detects them. For seniors, imported items pose 2 practical risks. 1, the supply chain is long, so contaminated batches may circulate widely before a recall, and 2, older adults are more likely to experience severe consequences from foodborne infections like listeriosis or salmonella, both linked to dairy recalls historically. News outlets and public health bulletins have covered European dairy recalls in recent years, underscoring that premium brand doesn't guarantee perfect safety. What does that smell and feel like? Often nothing obvious. A recalled batch can look and taste normal. That's the worst part. Listeria doesn't always alter taste or odor. The only warning can be an official recall. That's why seniors and caregivers should check recall lists for imported dairy and avoid high-risk soft or spreadable products during outbreak windows. If you love President's flavor, reserve it for occasional treats and keep a more predictable, locally produced butter on hand for daily use. Have you seen an imported dairy recall at your store and wondered if your tub was affected? Tell us the brand and how you handled it. Luxury packaging masks supply chain risk, and foodborne bacteria don't read country of origin labels. President can deliver great taste, but when imported batches fail microbial checks, that premium price suddenly looks like a risk you didn't bargain for. Check recalls before you serve. Number 2 takes us to Land O'Lakes Whipped Butter Spread, the lightweight tub that promises all the buttery flavor, less fat, and the convenience of spreadable toast straight from the fridge. The tub looks harmless. On the plate, the fluffy texture melts into bread in a way real butter doesn't. That promise is why kitchens keep a tub on hand. The problem is what's inside the tub when you look past the marketing. Open the ingredient list and the trust gap appears. The whipped creamy blend is not pure churned cream. It's a blend of oils, water, and real butter plus emulsifiers and preservatives. Things like monoglycerides, sodium benzoate, and potassium sorbate, soy lecithin, and colorings. Those additives are legal and common in spreads. But for seniors on multiple medications, with kidney sensitivity, or who need to limit sodium and preservatives, they matter. Preservatives like sodium benzoate and potassium sorbate extend shelf life, useful for a tub that sits on a kitchen counter. But they're an extra chemical load some older bodies handle poorly. If you're taking many meds or your kidney function is reduced, every unnecessary additive is an avoidable burden. There's also a practical sodium and fat math issue. Whipped spreads often advertise less fat per serving while delivering flavor through added oils and sodium. A senior watching blood pressure may not realize how quickly a few extra spreads add up across a day. Breakfast toast, a snack, an evening vegetable smear. The airy texture masks that you often use more volume. Spreads glide on easier, and that convenience can lead to larger portions without you noticing. That's the classic bait and switch, convenience and a lighter label. But a real difference in ingredients and potential effect on blood pressure, swelling, or kidney load. Beyond ingredients, there's a safety angle to consider. Spread tubs require preservatives because they're larger, opened repeatedly, and stored at refrigerator or room temperatures depending on the label. That repeated exposure to air and utensils increases the risk that a contaminated utensil will deposit bacteria into the tub and let it sit. For someone older with a weaker immune system, a contaminated shared tub is a greater risk than a sealed stick of butter you slice and use just once. That is a subtle but practical food safety concern. It's not a scandal in itself, but for vulnerable eaters, it's worth choosing formats that lower cross-contamination chances. If you still prefer the convenience of whipped spreads, inspect ingredient lists and pick tubs with the shortest, clearest ingredient list. Avoid tubs listing multiple preservatives or long ingredient strings. Consider tubs labeled explicitly "no preservatives" and use them quickly, or switch to a chilled, solid butter used with a butter knife to avoid repeated dip contamination. For people on blood thinners, with kidney or liver concerns, or with tight sodium limits, the safest move is a small portion of real butter or a plain oil drizzle. Predictable ingredients, predictable effect. Do you use a whipped tub because it spreads easily on toast? Have you ever read the full ingredient list and felt surprised? Drop the brand and one ingredient that made you double-check. Airy tubs feel light. Your portion control rarely is. Land O'Lakes Whipped is convenient, but convenience comes with additives and cross-contamination risk. For seniors, easy shouldn't replace safe. Finally, at number 1, Organic Valley, the organic cooperative many people choose to avoid pesticides and get pasture-raised flavor. The butter spreads beautifully and tastes fresh. That's the expectation. The issue is a set of supply chain and testing flags that show even organic labels aren't a blanket safety guarantee. And for seniors, that nuance matters. 2 kinds of public concerns have been raised about Organic Valley products. First, trace pesticide and residue questions. Independent testing campaigns and investigative pieces over the years have highlighted that organic supply chains can still pick up residues from drift, legacy chemicals in soil, or accidental contamination on specific farms. That doesn't mean organic is unsafe in general, but it does mean a label isn't a 100% shield against trace contamination. For older consumers with multiple health conditions, cumulative exposures matter more. Second, packaging tests have raised alarms. Consumer lab results published by small watchdog groups found trace organic fluorine, a marker related to PFAS forever chemicals, in some butter wrappers, including Organic Valley's. PFAS can persist in the body and have been linked in some studies to higher cholesterol and immune effects. The concerns around packaging mean chemicals once used in coatings could migrate into very small levels of food contact surfaces. Regulators are still studying the best ways to manage packaging, PFAS. But for people with the kinds of fragile metabolism common in older adults, avoiding unnecessary exposures is reasonable. These findings don't equal proof of harm from a single stick, but they are reasons to be cautious and rotate brands if you want to limit unknown exposures. To be clear, Organic Valley produces a lot of genuinely high-quality dairy and has a strong reputation among many buyers. The point here isn't to scare everyone away from organics, it's to highlight that even premium, organic brands can face supply chain and packaging issues that create avoidable risk for the most vulnerable consumers. If you choose Organic Valley for taste, do so occasionally and keep a tested, locally produced butter you trust for daily use. That lowers the chance of an unlucky batch showing an unexpected residue. Also check independent recall trackers before buying during active recall windows. Do you buy organic dairy for peace of mind? Would you swap brands if lab tests suggested packaging chemicals? Organic label not equals zero exposure, and older bodies add up exposures differently. Organic Valley tastes great for many, but recent wrapper tests and residue stories show why seniors should rotate choices and prefer tightly tested local sources for everyday butter. Now let's uncover the two butters that are actually safe. So the first safe option is Tillamook. Dependable, tested, and transparent. Tillamook is a regional cooperative with wide distribution and a strong track record for quality control. It's not immune to occasional limited recalls in other dairy lines. For example, a region-specific recall of certain Tillamook cheese slices turned up in 2024. But for butter, Tillamook maintains routine quality checks and clear labeling. Consumer taste tests and food safety reports regularly include Tillamook among recommended everyday butters, and their public recall history for butter itself is limited compared with many mass-market blends. That combination, transparent labeling, cooperative production, and a relatively clean recall record for butter, makes Tillamook a reliable daily choice for seniors who want predictable ingredients without extra preservatives. Practical senior note. Pick Tillamook's simple salted or unsalted sticks, short ingredient lists. Store in cold part of fridge, use within the recommended window, and check recall trackers if you hear a local food alert. That gives you flavor plus fewer surprises. Have you used Tillamook butter for baking or toast? Which cut or recipe makes it your pick? Dependable production beats trendy packaging when you need consistent results. Tillamook wins by being consistent and transparent, great for everyday meals where stability matters. Coming at the second safe option, Plus Gras stands out as one of the safer premium butter choices for those who want quality without hidden risks. Known as a European-style butter, Plus Gras is crafted with 82% butter fat, which is higher than the standard American butter that usually contains around 80%. That extra butter fat may sound like a small difference, but in baking and flavor, it makes a noticeable impact. Professional bakers often favor Plus Gras because its composition is predictable, it creams well with sugar, and it delivers a rich taste and texture that elevates pastries, cookies, and cakes. Unlike some brands that have been caught up in recalls or controversies, Plus Gras has managed to maintain a clean record in recent years. There have been no major brand-wide recalls, no widespread packaging issues, and no scandals tied to misleading labels. For seniors or anyone wanting a dependable product, that stability matters just as much as taste. Part of what gives Plus Gras this reliability is its connection to Dairy Farmers of America, a large cooperative that handles distribution and manufacturing. That backing ensures consistent sourcing, predictable production standards, and tighter quality control than smaller or less established butter brands. In practical terms, when you buy Plus Gras, you can trust that the butter inside the package will perform the same way every time. Seniors who may already be mindful of dietary concerns benefit from this steadiness, since the last thing anyone wants is to worry about additives, fillers, or fluctuating fat percentages in something as simple as butter. Of course, Plus Gras is still butter, and its higher butterfat content means it's best enjoyed in moderation. Seniors concerned about heart health or cholesterol should treat it as an occasional indulgence rather than an everyday staple. The good news is that with a butter like Plus Gras, A little really does go a long way. When used in baking, even small amounts can add depth of flavor and improve texture. A pat of plus gras spread on warm bread or folded into a sauce delivers the richness people expect from premium butter, making it a smart option for flavor-focused dishes rather than daily sandwiches or toast. For practical use, seniors might keep plus gras on hand for special recipes, a holiday cake, a batch of cookies, or a celebratory dinner, while sticking with lighter spreads or standard butter for everyday use. Measuring out portions can help control saturated fat intake without losing out on the premium flavor that plus gras offers. It's less about cutting butter entirely and more about knowing when to use the right kind in the right amount. Plus gras' strength is not in flashy marketing or health claims, but in its straightforward consistency. It provides a clear, chef-friendly composition and a track record of dependable production. That combination makes it a sensible, worth-it pick when flavor and predictability matter. For seniors especially, choosing a butter with no surprises and a reliable background is a way to enjoy good taste without added worries. Do you bake with a premium butter like plus gras? Sometimes it only takes one recipe, a pie crust that melts in your mouth or cookies that finally turn out just right, to make you switch for good. Premium butter isn't about chasing headlines or trends. It's about trusting the product in your kitchen to deliver the same result every single time. Don't risk your health on bad butter choices. Subscribe now, and I'll show you what to avoid and what's actually safe every single week.